I pray my wish will come true.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hello, and welcome to Lake County Sports Scoop. I'm your host, Carson Beck, and I'm joined by my co-host, Fidel Garcia, and you're listening to 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. Coach, how we doing today? Oops, sorry. Try it again.
Would this technically be the Merry Christmas segment or the Christmas special of the show?
I would say so. In the spirit of Christmas, and Coach, I got you a little something for Christmas.
Oh my God, you shouldn't have done that. Are you serious?
There you go, Coach. Merry Christmas. I know you're not a big sweets guy because you like to keep yourself in shape, but it's the least I can do.
I don't know if any of that's true, but my dentist right now is really not going to like this. So,
all right. Today is Monday, December 22nd, the day before Christmas Eve, and we wish all you a Merry Christmas for this week. But we got a jam-packed episode of sports to cover, and it should be an exciting one. I know, Coach, we have a lot of exciting tournaments going on, and before we start the show, I believe you have a few scores. Do you want to share with us?
Yeah, just updates. Stevenson over Glenbrook North today, and Libertyville big over Elgin.
Man, those sound like exciting ones, especially that Stevenson Glenbrook North. And you were telling me that Stevenson was trailing in that game.
Yeah, they were trailing in the first quarter. But listen, Glenbrook North is always the coach, the Hall of Famer. It's a well-coached team. They're going to execute all the time. They may not be as talented as they've been in the past, but that's a program that's won a state championship, multiple, I believe.
Well, I remember you and I talking about that. Do you remember what year it was when they won that state title?
I want to say the 05-08 period. It was. I know one of the teams beat a Warren team led by our buddy Seal Clark, and they went on and won a state championship. That was the John Shire years. The kid that went down and played at Duke. So that's a good win. That's always a good win.
Yeah, they're definitely being challenged moving up to that Central Suburban League South with all the bigger schools. But today's episode of Lake County Sports Scoop will preview last week's action, as well as preview some more tournaments that are coming up. And I know Coach Garcia is excited for this. We're going to have two Caramel Corsair coaches coming onto the show. First, we'll be joined by Jason McKie, the new Caramel Corsairs football coach. He got hired last week, and he was also the coach for that last game of the year in the regular season, the game that they won in overtime when Coach Annan stepped down, and he was the interim head coach. And then we'll also be joined by Coach Berg, who's not a stranger to this show either. He was on our show a few months ago when we were talking football. So,
funny you say that. At our game against St. Pat's, the student section, St. Pat's, the all-boys school, student section probably made majority of up by a lot of the wrestlers and maybe the football guys, but they started to chant, "Let's play football." So it's kind of interesting that, that we were able to play them actually twice in a season, which is kind of fun and kind of interesting. I mean, there's a rivalry there, so it was an exciting game.
That was the overtime season finale, right? It was St. Pat's?
Yeah, they played St. Pat's at Triton College in the cold.
Okay. So I remember that's a game that Coach McKie coached, so he's not a stranger to Carmel either. We'll get more on him.
Well, he's not a stranger to a lot of things too. He's played at the highest level.
Definitely.
He brings an excitement to the Carmel community, to the football community, and it's something that I think I know a lot of the kids are excited about.
Last note on him that I find unique is that he played fullback in the NFL, a position that people are thinking is going extinct.
Yeah, you're a Raiders fan, so you wouldn't remember this, but he played for the Bears when they made their Super Bowl run. And he played for a couple other really good franchises, Ravens, Eagles. I mean, this guy's the real deal. He's played at the highest level.
Without a doubt. And let's dive into some hoops. The first team we'll look at, we'll start in the North Suburban Conference. The first team in the North Suburban Conference we'll look at is the Stevenson Patriots. Stevenson is currently 9-1 and is coming off a week in which they went 2-0. Last Tuesday, Stevenson won at Lake Zurich in dominant fashion, 61-36. In the win, Matthew Ambrose scored 14 points. R.J. Holmes scored 10 points for the Patriots. On Friday, Stevenson beat Yorkville Christian 74-38. In the win, Evan Ambrose scored 8 points, all of which in the first half. Matthew Ambrose, his older brother, scored 16 points, including a stretch in which he knocked down 3 3-pointers in a row. Robert Holmes finished with 10 points and 8 rebounds. Stevenson's only game this week was today's game against Glenbrook North. And Glenbrook North going into the game was 4-6, so now they're 4-7. So Coach Garcia, with the holidays now in full swing, what have you taken from this Stevenson Patriots team? Probably, I guess you can say, the first quarter of the season.
3 things stick out to me. One is how mature this team is. A lot of seniors, a lot of high-level basketball players. The other thing is how many guys can contribute on a night. I mean, they have guys that can give you 20 and come off the bench. You know, they got a guy that can give you 30. They just have so many weapons that they can go to on any given night. Someone's going to be hitting. Last is the team last year was left with sour taste in their mouth. They wanted to be downstate. I think that's been their mission all season, and they've been very impressive. So I think they're the favorites where they're at for the holiday tournament down at drawing a blank here. They're playing down at what tournament are that? They're at Hinsdale, I believe.
I think you're right on that one.
Right.
It's funny how you said the sour taste in your mouth. I was reading a few articles and talking to a few journalists, a couple that work here. I think a lot of people make some relations with this, I guess, last year's Stevenson team, kind of comparing it to the Jalen Brunson team before they won a state championship. A little sour taste in their mouth, a little unfinished business. So I'm really curious what type of chip on their shoulder Stevenson's playing, even though they're defending conference champions and they made it to super sectional.
Here's what you don't want to do is, yes, they're hungry for next year, but you don't want to disrespect these guys either. And not that they're being disrespected, but in these rankings, there's a lot of journalists and there's a lot of people that do things online that a lot of people follow in terms of rankings, and this Stevenson team's behind Mundelein. So, I mean, I'm sure that's an added edge that they have already. That, hey, well, what did we do? We lose one game, and now I'm chopped liver a little bit here in county. So just keep that in mind also. So yeah, like I said, it's on a veteran group. Okay, it's a very talented, deep group of many contributors, and then these guys they got a chip on their shoulder, and it's growing.
Now that you brought that up, do you want to do our top 5 now, or what portion of the show do you want to do that? Because I think this seems a good time.
Well, typically our top 5 why don't we do our top 5 in a row?
Right now?
Yeah, well, I'm saying we can just talk about them. So the next one, I think we're both it's for between you and I, it's between Mundelein and Stevenson, right? I got Stevenson first. We talked about Stevenson second. So let's transition into Mundelein. And here's where you can tell me, Stevenson's my number one right now. Mundelein's biting at the chop. I mean, they're right there, literally right there. But what about this Mundelein team for you makes them number one?
All right, I'm going to go over last week, and then I'm going to show you the resume and body of work on why I think they're number one.
All right.
So the next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference, as we mentioned, is the only remaining team, not only in conference, but in all of Lake County, that's undefeated, the Mundelein Mustangs. Mundelein is 10-0, and they're coming off a week in which they had two tough, thrilling games, both in which I was in attendance, that they won. Last Monday, Mundelein won at Zion Benton 52-48. This was a game in which Mundelein was trailing by 11 points at one point. It was a back-and-forth game for sure, a thriller. Junior Trey Baker really stepped up for the Mustangs, scoring a career-high 22 points, 6 steals. Scotty Abube had a double-double as he had 11 points, 10 rebounds, as well as 6 blocks. Connor Enright also had 10 points of his own, all of which coming in the second half. On Saturday, Mundelein defeated Lake Park from the Duquesne Conference 52-45. Both teams were entering the game undefeated, and Mundelein's gym was packed to the bone. Lake Park is coached by Billy Pitcher. Some of you may remember him during his time of being Lake Zurich head coach basketball program when he led Lake Zurich to a sectional championship in 2017-2018. In the win over Lake Park, Scotty Abube had another double-double as he finished with 23 points, 14 rebounds, as well as 5 blocks. Connor Enright, who has committed to drink, as we all know, scored 19 points in the win. Enright and Abube alone had all but 10 points for Mundelein. The only game for Mundelein this week is against Granite City in the Collinsville tournament. So, Coach, my take from Mundelein is I think, although they've been playing close games, I think they're playing their best basketball, even though you want to heat up near the end of the season. If you look at their resume, I think they got some pretty impressive wins that a lot of teams don't have. They beat Deerfield, Warren, North Lawndale, Zion on the road, and then Lake Park this past Saturday. That's pretty impressive if you ask me.
No, there's no doubt that's impressive. I hope they're not playing their best basketball right now.
I hope not either.
Yeah, I think they're not playing their best basketball right now, but they're still playing really, really good basketball. But here's my thing. You said the gym was packed to the bone. It wasn't packed to the bone. So if you're listening and you're a Mundelein fan, or even if you're a North Suburban fan, go check out the brand of basketball. It's exciting. They're running gun a little bit, but they got a guy that in Scotty Abube, which is he is a gem for this county. And if you have an opportunity to go watch him play, he's a player that you're not going to see very often. I mean, he's that type of player. He can really dominate a game. Now, I think he's got the most upside, but the heart and soul, the MVP of that team is undoubtedly Connor Enright. And so stopping him has been really the problem, and that's why they've been successful over these last couple weeks. Here's the new challenge now, and they've passed test number 1, and they've done a great job. As you said, listen, at this point, you're worried about winning games, and they've done that. You're not worried about style wins. You're winning the game, moving on, you're getting better. But now they head down to Collinsville, and I told you this. I think this is one of the best tournaments in the state. If maybe top 2. I mean, there's Pontiac, and then there's probably this one. They're going to play a team first round they should beat. The next round they're going to play a very, very highly rated O'Fallon team. Okay, I think they have one loss maybe. If they win that game, they're going to play Lincoln, a really, really, really good 3A school, a team that's probably in a top 20 statewide. And if they're able to win that game, they're probably going to face the host, Collinsville, who, as I've said, is arguably the number 1 team in the state right now, 1 or 2, depending, I guess, who you talk to. But I've seen a lot of people have them at number 1. So they've passed test number 1, and I think I think this is the next test for them. If they come back with a loss, that doesn't take anything away from what they've been able to accomplish so far. This is a really good team still, but they don't be surprised if they go down there and win it. I mean, they're that talented. They're in that much of a streak right now. They're playing really good basketball. So
I like how you mentioned how competitive these teams are. I was texting Joe Aguiar, who was at the game on Saturday, and he said kind of off mic a little bit when he was talking with Coach Badgley. Badgley said at worst case scenario he would settle for going 2-2 in that tournament, but you obviously want to go for the win. But another thing that I want to mention about Mundelein that sticks out to me is that they're so balanced in talent that one of the three main guys, either Baker, Baker, Abube, or Enright, can be a little down in the game, and they can still kind of back each other up. Like, you know what I mean? Like one player can have just a little off night, like maybe 6-8 points, but the other two are just pounding it. And I think they got a three-headed monster in those guys.
Well, they got multiple contributors, which is important, especially when you have a Connor and a Bube, Baker, even like a Bikus. Bikus is a guy who would be a best player on a lot of different teams. So yeah, they're in a great position. But let me ask you: is this your number 2 team or is this your number 1 team?
As Rusty would say, I'd give them 1A. It's a tie for first, but if I had to give a slight edge, I'd say staying undefeated with the schedule that they had so far, it gives them a very slim edge over Stevenson. No disrespect at all to Stevenson. Stevenson's an excellent team.
So you're ignoring last year. You're ignoring that as any type. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I only look at year by year.
Right, I guess
the previous year doesn't.
If you want to do that, I think at some point Monday could be that number 1 team.
We'll find out on January 10th on WRLR when Mundelein hits the road at Stevenson.
We will find out. We also may find out when they come back
to Mundelein
to this tournament.
Oh yeah,
if they come back and they won it or went to the championship, I think you may be onto something.
Definitely, it should be an exciting regular season, a collision course with those two teams. But let's give some other teams some love for sure. And before we move on, it's kind of ironic timing that we're doing this. Tune in this weekend, starting on Thursday, the day after Christmas, right here on WRLR, as the Libertyville Holiday Tournament, girls hoops, that is. Pregame at 12:30, game at 1 and 2:30. You can catch the third place game as well as the championship final, as Rusty Silber will be live from Libertyville High School calling some girls hoops. So, but on the topic of Libertyville, let's talk some Libertyville boys hoops. Libertyville is 6-2, 1-1 in conference. So Libertyville had no games last week. Libertyville's only game this week is at Wheeling, where they'll take on Elgin, who is 3-7. And Coach, what do you take so far from the first half portion of the season? Quarter of the season for Libertyville?
They're 7-2 now. Is that correct?
Oh, that's right. Because they just won, right? You said
7-2. They've played a really good schedule. They've played Stevenson already. They've played
you guys.
They've played us. They've played
Glenbrook North,
Evanston, Glenbrook North. They've played some good competition already. They're 7-2. I got them as my third best team. They're gonna play in a tough Wheeling tournament over this break. I think they'll have a chance to make a run. If you remember, a couple years ago, they made it to the championship game.
Definitely. I think so far on our list, you say Stevenson won, right? Or do you give Mundelein
Stevenson, Mundelein, Libertyville.
All right, so I say Mundelein, Stevenson, Libertyville. All right. We'll reveal our next two left. But, yeah, I think Libertyville is a scrappy team. I feel like they got plenty of weapons in Ellingson and Moore. The younger Steinhaus, kind of filling the older Steinhaus's shoes, right?
Here's the only chink in the armor, and we saw it against Stevenson. They're about 7, maybe 8 deep. And it's a really good 7 and 8 deep. So they're a team that they have to stay healthy. Their guys have to be a bit ready to go every game. For the most part, they have been in one game. I heard Blake was sick. Happens. And that still doesn't take away from what they've been able to accomplish this early in the season already.
Without a doubt. And they'll be a tough team. They can definitely play spoiler in the upcoming regular season. But let's move on to Zion Benton. I got to see them on Monday night hosting Mundelein. They're currently 5-4. They split their games this week. They lost a close game against Mundelein, 52-48. In the losing effort, Amar Aguilar of Zion scored 17 points, 8 rebounds. DeMonte Taylor was the leading scorer for the ZBs as he contributed 21 points. Zion beat Phillips 68-65, who is currently 8-3 overall and in his first place in their conference of the White Central Conference. Zion's only game scheduled for this week is against Dunbar on Thursday at Proviso West High School. Dunbar is 8-2 and is second place behind Phillips in that conference. So, Coach, I saw this team in person. I'm really impressed, and I'm putting them at number 4 in all of Lake County. They can definitely. What I noticed with them is that they can play with both tempos, both fast and slow it down. But as Rusty and I mentioned before the game, I think the key to their success is how they handle composure with turnovers, and also a few players when I was watching that game were in foul trouble.
Here's the thing with Zion. With that team, they're at their best when they're in a fast tempo. Now, yeah, they have to be able to play at a slower tempo. There's going to be teams that are going to be able to handle their pressure and force it into a slower tempo game, and they'll have to win at that. But at the end of the day, Zion's won a lot of games because they've been able to play at a fast tempo. They've forced teams to play in a faster tempo. So, in my opinion, as long as they're in that element, they're always going to be a dangerous team.
I think it's Worthington, right? The Zion coach, Worthington?
Yes, Bob Worthington.
Yeah, Bob Worthington. Rusty told me another off-the-mic moment that he said Mundelein, even though Stevenson beat Zion more, Mundelein, he said Mundelein's the best team. So a little outside opinion. I think it's totally correct what he said. What Rusty and I were saying about Zion, it's totally about how you handle yourself in composure and turnovers. I could see in their timeouts that's the main thing that Worthington's drilling into these guys' heads. It's composure and managing turnovers. You don't want to be out of control.
They're down at Proviso. They're going to play a pretty tough schedule there. Over this next week, we're going to really, really have a clear look at what the Zion team is in terms of long-term.
All right, the next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference is the Lake Forest Scouts. Lake Forest is currently 5-5, 1-2 in conference play. Lake Forest is coming off an impressive week of their own where they went 2-0. On Friday, Lake Forest won at Warren 54-44, a game that Rusty Silver was calling right here on WRLR. Freshman Asa Thomas led the Scouts in scoring with 21 points. Jack Malloy also contributed 17 points for the Scouts. Lake Forest controlled a solid portion of this game as they led it at halftime 26-15. On Saturday, Lake Forest won a close game at Hersey 50-49. Hersey is currently 3-8 after a loss. Asa Thomas, the 6-foot freshman guard, led the Scouts in scoring with 16 points. Jack Malloy with 15 points. Stephen Young with 9 points, and Nowick with 7 points for the Scouts. Lake Forest's only game this week scheduled will be at York High School when they take on Timothy Christian, who is 8-1 and is first place in their conference, the Metro Suburban Conference Red Division. Coach Garcia, what do you take so far from this Lake Forest team that's coming off an impressive week?
Yeah, impressive 2 wins against Warren, Hersey, as you said. The Timothy Christian team they're going to play is good. So they're going to be tested right off the bat at the York tournament. I'll be interested to see if they can kind of ride this little bit of a wave of momentum that they have. That's a good Timothy Christian team with some high next level players, but don't never count out a La Scala team that's playing good basketball.
Definitely one of the more respected coaches and veteran coaches in the county. I love the style he plays, no matter what players are on the court. So good luck to Lake Forest. Let's talk about Lake Zurich. Lake Zurich is currently 3-5, 1-2 in conference play. Lake Zurich's only game last week was a home loss against Stevenson, 61-36. Lake Zurich's only game this week will be at Pekin, where they will take on Washington. What do you take from this Lake Zurich team so far, Coach Garcia?
Yeah, solid team so far. I think they're going to get a lot more wins than they did last year. And I think they're in a really good position. They've played a really tough opponent, and now they've had a little bit of a break to kind of work on what they need to work on. And they're a team that can come down maybe and upset someone that first round at Pekin. But, again, this is a good, solid program.
All right, the next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference is the Warren Blue Devils. Warren is currently 3-6, 1-2 in conference play. Warren's only game last week was on Friday when they lost to Lake Forest at home, 54-44. In the losing effort, Juan de la Cruz led the Blue Devils in scoring with 12 points. Warren's only game scheduled for this week is Manuel at Pontiac. Coach Garcia, what do you take from this Warren team? Kind of off to an untraditional slow start from this Coach Jasnock coached Warren Blue Devils team.
Well, unfortunately, that Peoria Manual team isn't going to be an easy out. I'm sure they would have wanted maybe a little bit easier schedule to start, especially with how they were missing a lot of the football guys early on. But, again, this is a storied program with great tradition, and they're not scared of anybody. They're going to play a tough schedule regardless.
I say watch out for them. This is I see you're getting into the little chocolates.
Whose fault's that?
But no, I definitely think this is definitely not a team you can put your feet up when you're playing them. They'll play you tough. I saw them in the Mundelein tournament. They played Deerfield tough. They hung around with Mundelein. You guys played them too in that. What was it, third place or what placing was it in that? Or I know you guys played them on that Saturday, Thanksgiving week.
It was the first game or the second game, I believe.
Second game, right?
They were still missing guys. I think the next game or the following game, they finally got their guys back. But, again, we're not going to know anything about this team for a while still. They got to get settled in. Those football guys got to get settled in.
I think once they're settled in, I think they'll be all right. But let's see what comes to happen with the Blue Devils. Quickly, the Waukegan Bulldogs. Waukegan is currently 1-9. Waukegan is coming off a week in which they split their games and earned their first win of the season. Waukegan defeated Lakes 44-40 on Tuesday. On Friday, Waukegan lost to North Chicago in a close one, a rivalry, 58-56. Waukegan's only game this week is against a really good Niles North team at Wheeling. Niles North is first place in the Central Suburban League North Division. Their record is 9-1. Coach Garcia, what do you look for in this Waukegan team so far?
Well, it's another team that isn't going to play an easy schedule. I believe they played North Chicago just the other day. It was a close game. But as I've said before, this team's going to be better at the end of the season than they are right now. They're well coached, and Coach Ashlaw is, he's continuing to do some good work over there at Waukegan.
Quick note before we move on, definitely a competitive team. You'll see the first quarter, they aren't rolling over. They'll give you a fight. So definitely never take this team lightly, as both you and I observed. The next team we'll look at in the Central Suburban League North is the Vernon Hills Cougars. Vernon Hills is 6-5 and is coming off a week in which they split their games. On Thursday, Vernon Hills defeated Rochelle Zell 45-33. This was a game in which the Cougars were struggling to score as they only had 10 points at halftime, trailing by 10. Eric Remus led the Cougars in scoring with 12 points, 10 of which coming in the third quarter. He knocked down a pair of threes. Jack Barges contributed 12 points for Vernon Hills as well as 8 rebounds. Tony Brown also added his fair share of points with 10 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. On Friday, Vernon Hills lost to rival Niles North, 78-51. The only game for Vernon Hills this week is at Maine East on Thursday, where the Cougars will take on Von Steuben, who is 5-4. Coach Garcia, we had Coach McCarty on the show earlier. What do you take from this Vernon Hills team?
Well, Unfortunately, they play in a conference that's going to be really competitive. I'm probably going to be hitting up Coach just to kind of get maybe a scouting report on Deerfield. It's a common opponent. But this is a tough team. Every night they're gonna play a hard, tough man-to-man style defense. And the Vernon Hills guys, they don't back down to anybody. They play against really good competition all the time. So they're going to be ready to go every single game.
Definitely. And want to talk, just give us a few notes about your Corsairs before we hit the break?
Well, we are currently, we just finished practice. We are going to be heading down to Centralia in the next couple days. So we're really looking forward to spending some time together. We're looking forward to the venue, the tradition, it's a historic tournament. So we try to just kind of soak that in the next couple days, while at the same time, we're down there to win some basketball games. So we're really focused and locked in on our first opponent, a traditional powerhouse, Champaign Central. We had a couple of really good players. So we're excited about the challenge, and we're excited about being able to play in that venue in front of those fans.
Good luck to you guys. Definitely a historic venue. And let's head to break. When we come back from break, we'll be joined by the new Caramel Corsairs football coach, as well as Coach Berg will join us on the show. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Cornicchione's New York-style pizzeria in Antioch at Routes 83 and 173 is another proud sponsor of WRLR Sports. Cornicchione's pizza dough is made from scratch using a family recipe that originated in Brooklyn, New York. Their dough is proofed at least 24 hours. Cornicchione's menu includes pizzas, calzones, pasta, much more. They have dine-in, carry-out, and delivery. Their number is 224-308-1499.
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? What, did he balance on that big chair?
Yeah, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Hi, I'm Frank Tarzeski, inviting you to listen to Music Matters every Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 on your FM dial. I play polkas, I play country, I play crazy songs, I play requests and jazz. That's Music Matters 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3.
WRLR sports programming is made possible in part through the support of Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach. Jersey Mike's serves authentic Northeastern-style sub-sandwiches that are fresh sliced and fresh grilled. Their menu offers items for students and teachers like the Giant Sub. Complete menu details available now at jerseymikes.com. If your sports team or organization is looking to raise funds, Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach can tell you how. They're located at 536 East Rollins Road, and their number is 224-757-5391.
Hi, I'm Carson Beck. Do you like your weekly dose of Lake County sports? I have a show for you. Tune in to Lake County Sports Scoop right here on 98.3 WRLR on Mondays from 4 to 5 p.m., where me and my co-host, Caramel Corsairs assistant boys basketball coach, Fidel Garcia, recap and preview all things Lake County sports.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
And we're back. You're listening to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. Right now we're going to, we just previewed and recapped the North Suburban Conference basketball, but I think we got to incorporate some football as we got the new Caramel Corsairs football coach, Coach McKie, Jason McKie, for that matter. A little background on him before we get him on the line. He played for the Bears and other NFL teams when Lovie Smith was the head coach. of the Bears, and he was the interim head coach for Carmel when Blake Annan stepped down in the middle of the season. So let's get Coach on the show.
Blake didn't step down in the middle of the season. It was at the end of the season. There was a bowl game at the end of the season. McKie took over after that. So he did technically coach as an intern.
All right, let's get Coach on the phone. Hello, Coach. Welcome to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm joined by Coach Garcia, and I'm going to start off with the first question. Coach, welcome aboard to being the new head coach of Carmel. And my first question to you is, from your knowledge, what sort of tradition and history do you know about the Carmel football program in particular, and what are some things that you want to incorporate both on and off the field for your own personal views that you want to incorporate into this football program as you take over the helm?
First, I'm just definitely excited about the opportunity to have the opportunity to help change kids' lives, young athletes' lives, and more so, off the field, not just on the field. And I know Carmel has a rich tradition in football. I know the coach there before, Andy Biddle, had a lot of success and had a good tradition there. And, I want to be able to restore that tradition, but also establish a new tradition. And that being, I know football is a lot of times you're judged on X's and O's, but, when I look at a successful program, it's bigger than wins and losses and X's and O's. It's about kids, arming them with the tools to be prepared for life. And whether they go on and get an athletic scholarship or an academic scholarship or just go into college, period, because of the things that they learned at Carmel. And as a coach, I want to instill them tools so that way they're successful in life. And I think that's a part of building a successful program as well, not just football.
Coach, we're excited about having you at the school. I mean, I know I texted you this, but a lot of the kids are excited. The staff is excited. Here's my question is, how do you envision your style, your brand of football? How do you see that with the kids that we have? But just, maybe elaborate on what's your brand and what's the style of football at Carmel going to look like?
Well, myself, I'm a high energy guy. I bring passion. I'm highly competitive. Obviously, during my time playing, I was an ultra competitive guy. And I think I bring energy, and I think I have the kids' trust because I can relate to them, but also I care about them as individuals, not just athletes on the football field. And my vision, I see our style of play is we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be fast and physical, and we're going to have fun. But at the same time, we're not going to make mistakes that's going to kill ourselves. You look in the past, a lot of times these close games that we lost in the past are because of things that we did ourselves, whether we botched a punt and gave the opposing team good field position, or whether we gave up, game-winning drive and we're winning and then end up losing the game. We're not good enough right now to beat ourselves. So that's the one thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to be fundamentally sound, but we're also going to be mentally tough. And I think if you have that mental toughness, you'll be able to overcome any adverse situation. And us as a coaching staff and the coaches I'm going to have on staff, we will have our kids prepared to go out there on the field and be successful.
Coach, my last personal question to you is, as a lot of our listeners may know, you played fullback for the Bears as when Lovie Smith was coach, and you also had experience with other NFL teams. With the position of playing fullback, do you plan on incorporating that particular position in your offense, a position that's quite honestly being not very often used in modern day football, and maybe like the style that you maybe take away from Lovie Smith or other coaches you had before?
Yeah, during my time, I had the opportunity to play with a lot of great coaches. And different things I learned from each one of them. And, the way they ran meetings and practices and the way they went about, talking and motivating their players. I took a little bit from all of them. And, I think that's helped me develop my coaching style. And It depends. I do hopefully, hope to develop a fullback on our roster. I feel like it's very important. I think when you look at the NFL teams around the league now, the teams that have the successful teams that have success running the ball, they do incorporate the fullback. So I think that's a position of need, and that's a position that is coming back around in the NFL. I think that's a position that we will incorporate in our offense, a little bit. But also depends on our personnel. Our offensive style of play will be dictated upon, our kid's strengths. So if I have a kid that's, he's not, he doesn't, he's not a guy that's going to go out there and he's not wanting to block, or he doesn't feel like he has a technique to block, I'm not going to put our kids in a situation for them to fail. I want to put all our kids in situations to succeed. So, it's about self-scouting and knowing what you have on your roster. And hopefully we get some more pieces in at the freshman or sophomore level and develop those kids. And, we'll be able to go out there and have success on the field.
Coach, if you could just give me one thing, what excites you most about Carmel? What excites you most about the opportunity? And maybe what is it that brings you to Carmel?
The kids, man. My year last year, I really connected with the kids, and I think we had kids that want to win, that want to succeed. I think they just needed the leadership and, a guy that they could trust is going to motivate them to be successful on the field. And in the Caramel community, I know Mark Post for a long time during his days at Warren. I think he's a great athletic director. That attracted me as well. And, I know the community and the faculty is going to do everything they can to help us be successful. But when you have kids that want to be successful, and I look at the pieces that we have coming back, and I think there's, it's a lot of upside and a lot of potential. And myself personally, I love a challenge, but the thing that attracted me is any opportunity I get to mentor and coach young athletes and help them achieve their dreams. I'm all for it. My life now is about being a blessing to others. And I had the opportunity to do what I wanted to do for a long time. I wanted to play in the NFL ever since I was a little kid, and I had that opportunity. I was blessed to be able to do that. And now, I want to be a blessing to others and help them achieve their goals. So I have a real good connection with the kids on our team, and we'll have a connection with the kids that come in, that join our football team. And I'm just excited about the future of Caramel football.
All right, Coach, we thank you for taking some busy time out of your schedule, and good luck for your upcoming season, and welcome aboard as new head coach of Caramel.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
That was the new coach of Caramel football, Jason McKie. He just got hired last week, so Coach Garcia wants to say something.
I think he hit it on the head when he said Mark Pose. There's really been a transition between the old way, which was a very successful way with how Andy Biddle did things, but he was also the athletic director. And so, Andy meant so much to the program. And for Carmel to be able to get a guy like Mark Pose, we really hit a home run there, because we're talking about two individuals, one that's impacted Carmel in a very positive way, and then one that is clearly making a really good decisions early on and has been a very important part to the success of the athletic department at Carmel.
Definitely, and I'm looking forward to see where this football program goes. All of the best luck to the Corsairs. But let's talk some Northern Lake County hoops. Let's talk the top dogs before we get Coach Berg on the show. The first team we'll look at in the Northern Lake County Conference is the Round Lake Panthers. Round Lake is coming off a week in which they went 3-0. On Tuesday, Round Lake defeated Rochelle Zell Jewish on the road. Akeem Williams and Devontae McNeil both scored 16 points in the victory. Kavone Peterson also contributed 12 points for Round Lake. On Wednesday, Round Lake dominated Christian Liberty 70-27. In the win, Devontae McNeil scored 22 points, 8 rebounds, 5 steals. Kavone Peterson had 9 points, 6 of which in the first half. Akeem Williams with 14 points. At one point, Round Lake was on a 23-0 run. Entering the fourth quarter, they were up 42. On Saturday, Round Lake defeated Freeport at the Marengo tournament. Akeem Williams scored 10 points. For the Panthers, Jameer Jones and Isaiah Nixon both scored 9 points. Round Lake has no scheduled games for this week. Round Lake is currently...
Whoa. Round Lake plays tonight.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
They play at 6 o'clock against Rockford Christian. As you said, they won their first game of the tournament against Freeport, who, by the way, are the Freeport Pretzels. I don't know if you knew that. They're the Freeport Pretzels. They beat the Pretzels in I think over 10 points. This next game should be a game I think they should win. And as we said, we talked about, I think there's a really good chance if things work out, you're going to see an all Lake County championship game, or at least 2 Lake County teams in that Final Four. It's going to probably be Marengo versus Wakanda, Round Lake versus what's the other school out there? Drawing a blank. Harvard. Is it Harvard?
You know more than I do, so I'm just going to let you take it and run. But
sorry, it's Marengo. So one of them is going to face Marengo. The other one's going to face against Hampshire. Sorry, Hampshire. Hampshire, Hampshire, by the way, their nickname is the Whippers, the Whips. I don't know if you knew that. They're the Whips.
Coach, so we kind of agreed on our top 3. I think I have Zion at 4. Who do you have at 5? I'm torn. You need to help me out here. Round Lake or Wakanda?
I told you already. It's Wakanda. And hey, we'll get to find out who the real one is at the end. Really, I mean, let's be honest. So if they both at some point they're going to play each other, and it could be sooner than later. It could be this week.
They play twice in the regular season, right, in the Northern Lake County?
And listen, they need to play each other 3 times and make this an all Lake County championship game.
It's 45. Should we get Berg on, or should we squeeze in Wakanda?
No. Get Berg on. Berg? I told Berg 4:45.
All right, let's get Coach Berg, the head coach of Caramel Girls of the Corsairs. Let's get him on. Hello, Coach Berg. Welcome back to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. And we welcome you on the show. How are we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And, Coach, I feel like a lot of our listeners don't get a lot of perspective on the East Suburban Catholics. So I kind of want your perspective on what your team has experienced so far and what players have stepped up and what you're looking forward to for the remainder of the season.
Well, we're off to a pretty good start. We're 8-2. We've only had 2 conference games so far. We lost to Nazareth in a pretty tight game in the Lake Cirque shootout in early December, and then our last game we just beat Marion Central Catholic of Woodstock. But as far as the ESCC is concerned, one of the tougher probably conferences for women's basketball around. Bennett took 4th place in 4A last year, and Nazareth took 3rd place in 3A last year, and then always have some tough teams like Marist and the Marion Catholic and Viator also as well. So it's going to be a tough go, but our tougher games are coming up here in January and February. But I think if we can take a step forward and move up a place or 2 in the conference, we're kind of closing the gap a little bit. But Bennett's usually kind of the barometer for our conference. How you do against Bennett's going to kind of show you how you're going to do against everyone else, because they've been kind of the top team for probably the past handful of years. But yeah, we're off to a good start, and we play down at Dixon starting on Thursday after Christmas, and get a chance to play some teams that we don't get a chance to see very often. So,
Coach, your team's really talented. You have some lower level kids that are very talented. What exactly is it that you've been able to do that's been able to draw and attract these type of talented players into your program? Maybe just talk about your style and what it is that, again, is attracting some of the best players in Lake County.
Well, we do have some good young talent. We have 2 freshmen that are up on the varsity, Jordan Wood and Mia Gillis, and also a sophomore that's a second-year varsity player, and Grace Sullivan. So we have some talent, but we are somewhat inexperienced playing in varsity games. I think trying to establish culturally a program that will attract players and want to come there. We've done a little bit of winning, especially at the end of the season the past few years, which I think always helps to have some success in the tournament. And, you get those one or two girls that come, and I think other people want to come and play for them. So our 8th grade feeder team is a pretty talented group of kids, and we have some juniors that are some real good players too as well. And we got a senior back in Caitlin Matz this year that obviously will help out. She was really a 2-year starter. She tore ACL last year, but I think it's a matter of building a reputation as a team that's kind of up and coming, a program that's up and coming. And as a coach, you got to go out and see players. You got to go watch not only feeder teams in Catholic grade schools, you have to go out and watch, travel games too as well. So I spend a lot of my spring and summer, looking at players, and then you got to try to get their parents interested in Carmel as a school, and then see if that's a viable option for them. So hopefully most of the 8th graders will be coming to Carmel next year, and I think we're building something that's going to be pretty special, hopefully, in the future.
Coach, we know you're down there at Dixon, the Dixies, playing in a tournament. It's probably a tournament you feel like you guys have a good chance of winning. There are some good teams down there. Just kind of a heads up, but can we transition? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's one of the reasons why we chose this instead of there was one tournament in the area we could have went to, but we see a few of those teams during the season already. It gives the girls an opportunity and the school an opportunity to go and play against schools that we normally don't even see, let alone play against. And for me, it kind of it's good for promoting the program and the school to get out there. And like I tell the girls, we're representing the Carmel Catholic women's basketball program. We're representing Carmel Catholic High School, and we're representing the ESCC conference. So it's a good way for us to make an impression on who we are as a program and as a conference and things like that. But should be, there's some tough teams there, but it should be something. If we play well, we should be able to do fairly well. The disadvantage, you haven't seen a lot of these teams, but the advantage, they really haven't seen you either. So it's kind of, to me, tournaments like this, it's who does what they do best. So can we do the things we do better than the other teams do the things they do? So, and especially when you're playing 4 games in 3 days. So, but it should be fun. It should be interesting, but fun.
Coach, I couldn't let you go without mentioning Warren. I know you do more than coach girls. You used to be a successful football coach, but is there anything you wanted to say about that Warren team? I know we compared them to you guys a little bit, but is there any final words maybe you may have on that?
I didn't get a chance to see them in person this year that I wanted to. Obviously, they had a tremendous year and a record-setting defense. Averaging giving up only about 4 or 5 points per game the whole season, and obviously making it down in 8A is such an accomplishment. Make it to the state championship, and you change a few plays here and there. Maybe they're state champs as well. I think it's hard to kind of compare teams, especially when it was a team that was from 16 years ago. But I think the players that played for that team and what we were all about, I think, speaks for itself. And it's hard, like I said, it's hard to compare. And I didn't really see them play. But as I said before, probably if you're looking at a dream matchup, it's strength on strength. Our offense against their defense, and even though our defense was pretty good as well, and created a lot of turnovers, it would have been interesting. But they had a great season and a great team, and they'll go down and probably Lake County as being one of the better teams that have come out of Lake County, and I think ours will too. Our team speaks for himself. They were ranked number 1 the whole season in the state of Illinois by some different publications, and I think we ended up being ranked 6th or 7th nationally, which is speaks volumes of the kids that are on that team. And we had a bunch of kids playing college, so both great teams in their own right, and probably for some different reasons, but go down as 2 of the better teams, if not some of the best teams, with the Libertyville team and the Lake Zurich team, I think, of 07 as some of the better teams that come out of Lake County. So it's something to be proud of.
All right, Coach. We appreciate you taking some busy time of your schedule and a great insight as always. And good luck on your rest of your season.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me and promoting Carmel Catholic women's basketball.
Absolutely. Have a good season and have a good Christmas as well, Coach.
Yeah, have a Merry Christmas, you guys. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Coach.
That was Coach Berg of Caramel Corsairs girls basketball. We're going to have to fly through, I believe, 5 or 6 teams left in 5 minutes.
We better talk about Wakanda first.
Yeah, without a doubt. Wakanda is 7-2, 2-0 in conference. They won their only game last week against Belvedere, 69-26. Donovan Carter had 6 3-pointers, 24 points, 6 rebounds as well. Nick Bulgari with 8 points, 8 rebounds. Wakanda will take on Woodstock North today. Coach, what do you take from about the Bulldogs?
If you remember the old Kennard days, this Wakanda team reminds me of a Wakanda light kind of team. Sorry, a Mundelein Kennard Day light team. They play the matchup. They're fast paced. They got a bunch of guys that can shoot, and they got one guy that's really good. So it's typically what Kennard was dealing with his first couple of years. This team is dangerous, and they're on the other side of that 3A sectional. So don't be surprised if they win a regional and advance to a sectional final, maybe even win a sectional if they're the real deal.
Would you guys bump into them or no?
Yeah, if we both won a sectional, probably, yeah.
Oh, that you have to go that far to meet up?
Yeah.
Yikes. Next team we'll look at is North Chicago. They're 3-7, 2-0 in conference, 3-way tie for first. They lost to Lake Forest Academy, but they bounced back, winning at the Dog Pound at Waukegan by 2. Only game this week is at Normal. What do you take from this Northside team?
This Northside team is going to play a tough level of competition for the winter, and then they're going to come back, and it's going to be a lot of conference games that you're going to see them play. So they could start building up some good momentum going into the postseason.
All right, next team we'll look at is the Lakes Eagles. They're 3-6, 1-1 in conference. They went 0-2 last week, lost to Waukegan, lost to Bradford, Wisconsin. Only games will be against Jones at Maine East. What do you take from Lakes? Quickly.
Lakes, you got to be able to defend the screen and roll game. They still haven't got back their best player, and they're going to be a lot better when they do. But you got to be able to, we say DSR, you got to be able to guard on-ball screen.
Grays Lake Central, what do you take from them? A little disappointment personally. I had higher expectations for them. 2-7, 1-1 in conference. Only game this week was Saturday against Jacobs. They lost by 14. And they will play Thursday against Marion Central, who is 2-6. They also played South Elgin earlier today.
Still a dangerous team in that conference. I wouldn't count them out. And I think once they get, again, there's like a Warren team. Once they get settled in and they get a little momentum, they can be dangerous in that conference.
What do you think about Antioch? 3-2. They're in a 3-way tie for last right now. They didn't play last week. Well, only game will be against Centennial.
I got an opportunity to watch some film on them. They play hard. They're a defensive-minded team, but they, as Coach said the other week, Coach Iden, they struggle handling the ball, and they're young.
Next game we'll look at is Grays Lake North. Grays Lake North is 3-6, 0-2. Also a 3-way tie for last. They lost a close game against Wilmette of Wisconsin, and they do not have any scheduled games this week. But it was a really close loss, a 1-point game. What do you take from the Knights?
Well, Knights are not too bad, but they're really dependent on that freshman, and you got to remember he's a freshman. So losing their best player over the summer is still kind of being what's nipping at them a little bit, I think.
Last team, Grant. They are 2-8, also tied for last place. They defeated Johnsburg by 12, and they lost to Payton Prep big time, 28 points. They'll take Waubonsie Valley on tonight. Quickly, what do you take?
Well, there's 2 really good teams. That Payton team's pretty good ball club, and this Waubonsie Valley team, I don't believe they've lost a game yet. They're a very, very talented team. So Coach Boz has really put them through a meat grinder, and I think it's going to pay off for them in the long run.
Thanks for tuning in to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR. The last show I'll host of 2019. Coach Garcia will try running the show next week, hopefully with Rusty, as I'll be in Mexico. But I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and excellent week. Enjoy it. And we also thank Coach Berg, and we thank Coach McKie for coming on the show. Merry Christmas, everyone, and so long from Round Lake Beach Metro Station. Also thank Coach Garcia, as always.
Don't forget Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And get those New Year's resolutions going. Have a good one. And thanks for tuning in.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois. You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city.